Last year, I bought my first eMTB in the form of the Velotrix Summit 1, and I had a blast racing down the mountain trails, seeing my heart rate spike, tracking my increasing performance with a Garmin bike computer, and recovering from pedal damage to my legs. Last fall, I had the chance to try out the Canyon Neuron ONfly eMTB, and that took things to the next level, with dual suspension, a dropper seat post, carbon fiber frame, and much more. But I did not buy that bike because it was way more than my beginner mountain biking experiences needed. And I'm a little bit older and I didn't really feel that I could justify such a high cost bike for my needs and my experiences. However, for the past couple of months, I've been hitting the trails with another Canyon eMTB that more closely aligns with my skill set and is priced closer to my preferred range. Hello everybody, this is Matthew Miller, otherwise known as Palm Solo, and thanks for visiting the Mobile with Matt YouTube channel. I appreciate your views and your support. Please subscribe, share with your family and friends, and ask me any questions you want about this bike and any other bike or other technology that I've talked about on my channel. So the folks representing Canyon sent along the Grand Canyon ON7 in this cool green mint pistachio color. I've been riding this large size bike, and Canyon has a very helpful sizing chart with height and inner leg length on the axes to fit one of the 4 available sizes for your body. And for a bike like an eMTB, sizing is important, so take the time to find out which is the best size for you and your riding experiences. Before we get into too much detail, let's first unbox the Grand Canyon ON7, and then I'll go into more details on my experiences riding the bike out on the trails. Canyon provides a good unboxing experience with boxes that have latches, and then on the top of that is all the extra tools and accessories that you need to assemble the bike. The bike is fairly light at 51 pounds, and so I was able to pull it out, and there's only a couple parts to put together for the Grand Canyon ON7, primarily starting with the front wheel, which has that through axle which makes it pretty easy to attach. Most of my time was spent on the handlebars. And Canyon does provide the torque wrench to be able to get those handlebar screws exactly as you need them. And since you spend so much time with those handlebars and controlling the ride through the woods, you want to make sure that those are put on there securely and adjusted properly for your fit and style. After putting on those, torque them down to make sure everything is a perfect fit. And then all that's left is to complete removing the rest of the wrapping materials from the seat and the rest of the bike. And then, of course, the very final step is to put on the pedals and make sure that you thread them properly and ready to go. Now that the bike is all unboxed and ready to go, let's start off with some key specifications of the Grand Canyon ON7. Unlike the Neuron ONfly, this bike does not have carbon fiber. It actually has an aluminum frame. It has that pistachio color with a matte finish on it, which makes it really easy to clean off and see where the dirt is from your bike ride. The bike weighs in at 51 pounds, which is heavy for a MTB, but not too bad for an eMTB. It has that 600-watt Bosch Performance Line CX mid-drive motor with 85 Newton meters of torque, so that's plenty to get you up those hills. And inside this front tube here is the Bosch Power Tube 625 watt-hour battery with an approximate range of 40 miles, and I'll talk about range in a little bit. On the front, we do have front suspension with that RockShox Judy Silver 120 millimeter travel shock with a shock pump in the box to be able to adjust that shock to fit your weight. Now, this is a hardtail bike, so there is no rear suspension on the bike. The derailleur is a Shimano Deore M6100 with 12-speed drivetrain, and a Canyon chain guard is over there on that side next to the chain. There is 200 millimeter SRAM DB8 hydraulic disc brakes on the front and 180 millimeter disc brakes on the back. This bike has 29-inch front wheel Rode TRYP30 Evo with 2.6-inch wide Schwab knobby Nick tires. And then on the front, to be able to pack it in your truck and take it on and off easy, there's a Canyon through axle as well. And then on the back, we have this Visic Terra Alpaca X5 saddle, which is pretty comfortable and utilitarian for what you need. Now, sometimes I review e-bikes that have big displays, lots of controllers and everything else. This one is a fairly basic controller. It's found over on the left side, and I think it's a Bosch standard controller. because there is no display anywhere else. There's just this remote control to be able to control some of the aspects of the bike. And if you look at the controller, there are actually 6 buttons on the controller, but only 3 are used that I could tell. The top, of course, is the power button. You press and hold to turn it off, on, and then press and hold to turn it off. And then down on the left side, there's a plus and minus button, which of course, the plus button increases your pedal assist level and the minus button reduces that level. And then on the right side, where around the Bosch name, is an LED indicator light, and this goes around 3 sides of the 4 sides, and it will show the color of what mode you're in. If it's off, there is no assist level on. If it's green, it's in eco mode. If that light turns blue, it's in sport mode. Purple is eMTB mode, and red is turbo mode. The lights on the left side of that are, let's see, there's 6 different lights. Those indicate the battery charge status. So while the controller is pretty basic, it gets the job done. And it's super accessible when you have your hand on the hand grip and you can easily press with your thumb to get up and down on battery assist. The major technological part of this is that there's a Bosch smartphone application, the Flow app, and that shows you everything. Shows you battery status. It shows you the estimated range in each of those pedal assist levels, and that metric actually adjusts. The more you ride the bike, the more it understands, and it will give you a range that's a little more accurate. The app also shows you mileage ridden in each mode, the mapping and routes, your detailed riding stats, and you can even mount your smartphone on the bike and then use it as an e-bike lock, an alarm, navigation, route planning, and activity tracking. The smartphone app can also connect to Apple Health, Strava, Komoot, and much more. And with that app, you can go into each of the modes that I mentioned, Eco, eMTB, Turbo, each one of those modes, and you can customize within the app how much assist you get. You can raise, lower, you can fully customize those different modes for your preferred riding, and then it syncs automatically to the bike. So then even if the app is not connected to the bike while you're riding, it will still remember and sync those modes, so you have those customized modes for riding this bike, which is great. And that really is what makes this an eMTB. So let's get into some of my riding experiences. I'll cover some of the ones that I do with a regular e-bike and then some that I would do with an eMTB. So regular viewers know that I ride up a 13 to 15% incline into my neighborhood. There is no throttle on this bike, of course, and with pedal assist only mode, I have to tell you, with that 12-speed drivetrain, it was so easy to get up the hill. Yes, there's no throttle, but simple pedaling, switching it to assist mode. If I put it in a turbo, it was easy as anything else to go up that hill. And it's easy because you're going to ride this up mountain biking trails. And I never really felt the need for a throttle. With those gears that are on there and that assist, I never felt the need for a throttle, and that was great. You don't often ride an eMTB in flat areas, but sometimes this bike is pretty accessible and you may want to use it as a commuter bike as well. So you may find yourself riding along the trails or to the trails or on country roads or to work. So I did do some flat course riding, and it was very easy. The motor was fairly silent as well, and I really didn't have to put it on much of assist level with those different gears, and was able to ride for many, many miles on the flat distance. And then also, if you're out there and the bike battery dies, what are you going to do? On flat terrain, it's pretty easy to ride. Now going uphill, it's a little bit more difficult, but you do have that 12-speed drivetrain, and it does make it a little bit easier to get up those hills with that drivetrain, even without power. Of course, with a 50-pound bike, you're going to want some power, but you can get back home if you need to. Now let's talk about trail riding experiences a little bit. This is an eMTB, so it's optimized for trail riding, and it happens to be optimized for the kind of trail riding that we do in Washington State. And that really means single track trails, there's not much loose exposed rock, and it was really, really fun to ride through those single track trails and down through the forest and along the berms and corners and everything else. And I took it out to the skills area of our local trail network as well to try some of those minor jumps and things. And this is a bit heavier than other bikes. The Grand Canyon is much heavier than a typical MTB, so I wasn't able to go as far when I was doing some jumps and things, but it was very comfortable to ride. That Neuron ONfly that I tried last year, that was a bit different because I had that dual suspension and the dropper post. This is a standard seat. There you can add a dropper post, and if I kept this bike, I probably would add a dropper post in the future. But I'm a kind of guy, I'm 50, almost 56 years old. I'm not going over big, massive jumps and taking on hills. I want to enjoy the ride through the woods, small jumps here and there, get my thrills a little bit, and that hardtail experience is perfect for me. It's very similar to my Summit 1, but the Grand Canyon feels more agile, and the wide range of that 12-speed gearing gives me more confidence pedaling up the hills. Sometimes with that Summit 1, I use the throttle and the throttle kind of gets away from me. I'd never had experience with this. There is no throttle. Pedal assistance up the hills was excellent, with several different levels of assist and a range of gears to move through. And it's a lot different than a standard e-bike with these gears optimized for climbing. Talking about some of the pros and cons of this bike, the Grand Canyon pistachio color is gorgeous. I personally really like this color, and the fit and the finish. You know, there's great welding on here. Everything feels solid. I never felt like there was any compromises made in this bike. I had a blast riding this bike, and with a price that's nearly $2,000 less than the Neuron ONfly, this one clearly matches my mountain biking experiences level better. It's fairly agile, the tires provided good grip even in the snow, and the front shocks are easy to adjust to your weight and desired response. There's a lot of power in that Bosch app, and that is a wonderful companion to this bike. It has a very minimalist controller, but very accessible, but that Bosch app really gives you that customization that you want, the tracking that you want, and other things that make an eMTB attractive to somebody who wants to get out there and take on the hills. A couple areas for improvement, which may or may not really be that applicable. It is still a bit heavy for MTB, but of course that's the nature of an eMTB. With that battery and other controllers, you're going to have a heavier bike. This is about 51 pounds or so, not too much heavier than a regular e-bike, but much heavier than an MTB. And that battery is not easily removable. I understand that you may be able to take the motor off in the future if the battery happens to die, but it's not something you're going to be taking the battery out to charge up the bike. You have to charge the bike with the battery mounted in the bike and using that charging connector. The Grand Canyon ON7 is currently advertised with a price of $3,799, but I have seen it on sale recently for something like $500 lower. So if you're interested in this bike, I would keep an eye on the Canyon website because I have seen that price drop here and there. The bike is only available in this one color, the pistachio color, but it is available in 4 different sizes. So keep an eye on that. And I do enjoy riding my Velotric Summit 1, but this is a good option for those looking for an eMTB with higher quality specifications, a mid-drive motor, some basic controls without the screen, somebody who wants to get out there and tackle the hills and really enjoy the experience without having to spend too much money. I didn't really miss the throttle at all, and if I was going to buy a Canyon eMTB, then this is really the one for me. A hardtail fits my needs perfectly, and that front shock is actually provides all of I need for suspension. The bike is available in a range of sizes, and after you get it, spend time with the manual and the smartphone application. Customize those shocks for your weight for the best experience, and really enjoy the Grand Canyon ON7. The bike is a blast to ride, and for the right type of rider, it may be the perfect affordable option to get into eMTB riding. Thank you everybody for watching. Please subscribe and share, interact with me here, and stay tuned for more coverage. And may the mobile force be with you.